Well, good afternoon, KMJ listeners. I'm Congressman Jeff Denham, filling in for a vacationing Ray Appleton, and we've got quite a show for you here today. The first hour, we're going to be talking about gas prices and what we can do to harness American energy to create jobs and lower prices. If you are fed up with the $4 gas prices that you're paying right now, the costing more to drive to work and escalating prices throughout your overall budget, you're going to be very interested in this first hour. I've got Congressman Jeff Landry from Louisiana. He's a member of the subcommittee on energy and mineral resources. As well, he sits on the Resources Committee and the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee with me. And we're going to talk about a variety of different issues dealing with oil exploration and the ever-escalating gas prices. And joining us now, we've got Congressman Jeff Landry. I'd like to welcome him to the show. One thing I want to do before I introduce him is really talk about the issue that comes up quite often. We just had a hearing in the Resources Committee, and a variety of different topics surrounding the whole oil controversy on drilling, where you drill, the price of importing oil. But the one myth that I've got to address before we invite Congressman Landry on here, the president said not too long ago, even if we tap every single resource available to us, we can't escape the fact that only 2% of the world's oil, but we consume over a quarter of the world's oil. President, just a couple weeks ago, even if we tap every single resource available to us, we can't escape the fact that only 2% of the world's oil, but we consume over a quarter of the world's oil. That myth is a big problem, and I want to just address some numbers that come to us from the Congressional Research Service, which is our nonpartisan, every member of Congress relies on this research, on this service that is available to us. But they've basically said that the United States' combined recoverable oil, natural gas, and coal resources is the largest in the world, outranking Saudi Arabia, China, and Iran. The president is ignoring the majority of America's energy resources. The 2% figure is a narrow estimate based on the United States' proven oil reserves, currently at 19 billion barrels of oil. However, this CRS, which both Republicans and Democrats use, the entire congressional delegation, all members rely on the CRS to come up with their numbers, and they're saying the actual number is 145 billion barrels of recoverable oil. So a lot of contradiction in the numbers that the president's using versus this bipartisan Congressional Research Service, as well the Department of Energy, the president's administration, Department of Energy, estimates 1.38 trillion barrels of shale oil are recoverable from approximately 7.8 million acres of federal land. Not to be left out, the United States Geological Survey estimates, again, another department under the Obama administration, estimates that our oil shale reserves could be greater than 1.5 trillion barrels of oil, 5 times larger than Saudi Arabia's proven reserves. We have about 2.8 billion barrels of this resource, and we have over 65% of it here in the United States. So it is definitely a big myth that we have no oil, that we have no reserves. The real question is, what are we going to do about it? So welcoming to KMJ's airwaves here, straight from Louisiana, I'd like to invite my good friend, Congressman Jeff Landry, to the show. Jeff, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jeff. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. And you've had some very strong comments. I specifically wanted to have you on this show. The comments that you've made in committee, everything that you've had to deal with in Louisiana, from the oil spill to now actually losing the jobs and having the rigs pull out. I wanted to just have you talk a little bit about what you're facing in Louisiana and why that impacts people in my district, why it impacts people throughout the entire nation.
Well, the problem has become that under the current policy that the administration has played out in regards to drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, where we've been drilling since the late 1940s. Those policies are driving our domestic production rates down. Even the president's own energy estimating information agency has estimated that all production for the United States domestically in the Gulf of Mexico will continue to decline from this point forward. And what we've been saying is, look, let's get back to drilling. And remember, Jeff, it was my district which was most impacted by last year's oil spill. But yet in my district, we overwhelmingly are asking the administration to get back to drilling off of the coast of Louisiana.
Now, you said in committee the other day, it made me laugh, April Fool's Day is still weeks away, and the president, should stop misleading the people. What do you mean by that?
Well, we have the administration, of course, and you were in committee when we had the director of the environment of the Energy Information Agency, and he was the gentleman who is responsible for giving the president the energy statistics that he used in his press conference week before last, when he made the claim that under his administration, oil production in the United States has never been greater. But what he fails to tell the American people, is that under his administration, energy production is slated to decline rather than increase. In fact, the increases in production are really the rewards of prior administrations and prior Congress's policies for active drilling in and around the country and in the Gulf of Mexico. And so, my questions to that gentleman were, hey, did you tell the president that he's getting ready to tell the American people basically a half-truth? He's going to take credit for a fact that was not of his doing. Instead, he's also going to omit and not tell the American people how oil production in the country is going to decline under his current policy. And that was like a bad April Fool's joke.
It was indeed. And, certainly that big oil reserve that you're talking about, I think it was done under the Bush administration, the first Bush administration, permitted, put online by Clinton, and then we actually got everything moving under the last president. And now this president has taken credit for both Republican and Democrat presidents' jobs before him. And at the same time, you're seeing the oil rigs in your district in the Gulf where you're representing leave the area and leaving you without those jobs.
And that's correct, Jeff. I just got out of a luncheon meeting with the Louisiana Independent Oil and Gas Association, where they did a state of the industry for outlook. And you are correct. The president wants to take credit for a project, a deepwater project that right now is providing America with 250,000 barrels a day of production. And those are the types of projects that are available to America out here in the Gulf of Mexico. They're the type of projects that the president continues to refuse to allow the permits to go back to allow the permits to be issued, so those projects can go back to drilling and producing. And what that does is that continues to put pressure on our domestic supply. And of course, when you crib supply and demand is high, we get the energy prices that we're getting today. And high energy prices are just a tax on the middle class and low wage earners, and it's a damper to our economy.
Absolutely. Now the biggest obstacle that we're going to have to face is the environmentalists. Obviously there's a big movement out there not to drill anything at all anymore ever again here in our country. And you faced in your own area the devastation that you did. Do you have time to stay with us through the next break?
Sure. I sure do.
I really want to get to what you've seen in Louisiana, the BP oil spill, your concerns about that, and what needs to be done in the future, and whether or not we should continue to drill either in your area or in California or Anwar and Alaska or anywhere in the United States. And then certainly we'd like to take some callers and see some of the local concerns here as well.
Absolutely. Be more than happy to stay with you.
Well, I appreciate it. This is Congressman Jeff Denham sitting in for a vacationing Ray Appleton here on KMJ, and my guest right now is Congressman Jeff Landry, representative from the great state of Louisiana, and we'll be back to you right after this.